Well, welcome back, folks, to Catching Up with Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame, various members of our Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame. And today we're very blessed to be joined by class of 2006 inductee, the Macon Masher, as Bud Collins once called her, Jaime Kaplan of Macon. Jaime, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for that great memory. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's funny. My sister's in the sports media and became very fond of Bud and actually slept on his floor in a New York City hotel room one
That's
year
great.
to cover the U.S. Open for a couple nights. So he was
special.
unbelievably kind
really...
to a complete stranger in the media. I'll always remember him for that. But so obviously when we're talking here, we're in late November, and unfortunately the COVID pandemic is still going here. How have you been doing during the pandemic? Any with the family and everything? Everything okay?
Doing good. Just just working from home and been out to the courts a little bit, playing a little golf. Just staying out from indoors, not eating in restaurants, and just having to be careful. You know, it's being a leukemia survivor. My immune system is not what it once was, and actually getting up there a little bit in age. It's the immune system's not real strong, but just having to be very careful. But just trying to do my thing and do fundraisers and that sort of thing. And so I appreciate you asking. Family's doing good too.
Well, we all know Jaime Kaplan is tremendous at fundraising. Boy, you're one of the best out there, and we'll talk about that. But maybe growing up in Georgia in the juniors, ranked #1 here in the state, and I believe even maybe in the South, a bunch of years in a row, and undefeated in your high school career at Stratford Academy, which we'll talk about later. You now coach. You were coached actually by John Drew Smith, which of course the famous Macon Tennis Center is named after. Not sure a lot of people know much about Coach Smith. Can you talk about his influence over you and what he did to help you become the player you ended up being in juniors?
Sure can. And I was very fortunate when I was a kid that I had some great coaches. Rob Danner coached me for a while before he left to go into the investment world. And we, I was able to travel to some other cities and take lessons from some big pros like Bill Tim but right here at home in Macon was John Drew Smith over at Tatnall Tennis Center. I grew up on those courts, and he was just special. He was like a second father to me. My dad traveled a lot, and so there was that aspect of it. And he's just so supportive and helped advise me tournaments to play, and he also he ran the tournaments here, the junior qualifier back then, and he involved me in helping make draws and that sort of thing, and help work with him on the seeds. And I didn't work on my own draw, but
sure, that's fine. Full disclosure.
So I got a great interest and great training when I was 11, 12, 13 years old, learning how to do those things. And so I took a keen interest in it, which helped me later years when I went into the industry after I was done playing. He was just special, and unfortunately, he died my senior year, and it was very traumatic to me. I get emotional talking about him, and when he died, my first trophy is actually buried with him. I can remember my mom and I went down to the funeral home, and I took my trophy with me, and I asked if I could bury it with him, and they did. And so that's very special to me to know that my first trophy is with him.
Well, not knowing him personally like you did, of course, but certainly with a facility like the John Drew Smith Tennis Center named after him, not just a Macon staple, but a staple here in Georgia South and even nationally known. What a great honor to have that center in his name. I'm sure you would concur with that.
It really is. And when he died, that was a dream of his, that facility. So that had not been built. And originally it was going to be called Northside Tennis Center because it's on Northside Drive in Macon. And after he died, it was just that was just the natural thing to do, was name it for him.
Yeah, well, a Georgia legend certainly had an unbelievable influence on you. And what's interesting is in your junior past, I mean, you really were very committed to playing high school tennis with your experience at Stratford Academy, undefeated. I'm sure that was, looking back on it, now that you, of course, you coach there as well. What a great experience to be a player and also the tennis center at Stratford named after you as well. What a great honor. But can you talk about, if you go back to your high school days, what an unbelievable accomplishment in a state like Georgia to be undefeated, both in singles and doubles in high school.
Well, you know, and back then in the old SEAIS, Southeastern Association of Independent Schools, that was the association that turned into the GISA. But back then you could play in the 8th grade, and you played 6 singles and 3 doubles matches. So you could play singles and doubles. So, you know, fortunately for me, that's a record that I don't think will ever be broken, because you can't play singles and doubles anymore. You have to pick one or the other. But for me, playing high school tennis is one of the most special things. I did play basketball. I played high school basketball, middle school and high school, and loved playing basketball. But to be on a high school tennis team, and you know, the matches I had very, very few matches that were competitive. And but I just love being the camaraderie or being on the team and playing for my school. I thought that was very special, and I love playing for my school. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
And I apologize for my dog barking in the background.
That's okay. Hey, it's all about live television, right? Or live interview.
What you get for working from home.
There you go. That's kind of the way it is in 2020. But I have 3 little kids, so usually it's streaming behind me. That's sometimes why I sneak here at the Sessions Family Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame Museum, broadcasting live today from. But now that you're a coach at Stratford, well-decorated high school coach, tremendous success. Do you sometimes put yourself in your players' shoes? And you were there, you played for the school, you played at a high-level high school. Did that high school player experience help you now as a high school coach?
I think it does in a way. You know, for the top players, in talking to them, you know, because some of them do, you know, they do ponder, well, should I play or should I not play? Maybe there's some outside forces saying to them, oh, it's a waste of time or
Right.
whatever. You know, and I tell these kids, and it's what I just said to you, it's time that I wouldn't trade for anything, because tennis is basically, it's a lonely sport. When you're out there playing junior tennis, you're on your own on the court. Your coach can't speak to you, that sort of thing. You're not playing for a team, you're playing for yourself. And so to play high school tennis, it's really neat. Like I said earlier, the camaraderie, and also, you know, to be able to be coached on the changeovers. And if you are going to play college tennis, that is something that you will experience in college. In fact, in college, you know, you've got coaching in between points. So you get used to kind of that distraction, getting used to that distraction.
Right.
That's different from junior tennis.
Right.
You know, for the other players, we're a no-cut team. So I literally have people come out for the tennis team who have never held a racket in their lives. And I love that. And I hear them, you know, 10 or 15 years later, they're still playing tennis. And that's my goal, is to introduce this sport, because it is a sport of a lifetime, to as many people as we can. And hopefully they'll keep playing.
Yeah, some of the college players wish there wasn't those rules, that their coach could talk to them on every single point.
It's changed a lot since I played college tennis.
Oh, absolutely, it has. Yeah, as long as, my view, as long as I'm not doing it during the point, then I'm okay with it. But
right.
But speaking of college tennis, you transitioned on to the University of Georgia and then to Florida State. Tremendous success at both schools. Did your high school, playing on a team, kind of playing for something bigger than you, did it help you excel in college in that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I was so fortunate to be on great teams. Went to the University of Georgia, grew up a Georgia Bulldog, and always wanted to play at Georgia. And I went there and I played for 2 years. But at the time, Georgia didn't have a full-time tennis coach. And so I felt like after 2 years, I needed to go somewhere that did have a full-time coach, because my goal of playing professional tennis, I knew that I just needed a little bit more. And so that's why I transferred to Florida State. But still have great memories of playing at Georgia, and I'm still a Georgia Bulldog. And went off to Tallahassee, played for Ann Davis, who ended up working for the USTA for a long time.
No idea she was a Florida State coach. Interesting.
Yeah, she was the coach when I was there, and just so helpful in preparing me for the next level. And so they were both great experiences, and learned a lot at both places, and very grateful to University of Georgia and to Florida State University for what I learned there on and off the court in preparing me for the tour and for life after the tour.
Well, two great women's programs, perennially in the top 10 to 15 every year with Jeff Wallace and Jenny Hyde.
Yes.
They do a great job. You kind of set the standard there at both schools. And then transitioning to the professional game, a lot of success in singles, but probably more in doubles.
Right.
You were able to play all the slams in doubles. You had 5 WTA doubles titles, which is a tremendous achievement. Did you have a favorite slam? Was it the U.S. Open? Was it something else? Do you have a favorite tournament maybe that you played over the years?
Well, if I had to say a favorite tournament, I'd have to go with Hilton Head, back where the Family Circle Magazine Cup was, just because it was kind of like old home week. I had so many people from home that would come down there and be there for the matches, and then it was just the players were all mixed in around with the fans, and so it was just, for me, it was a very cozy tournament, and I loved being just a few hours from home. As far as my favorite slam, and I love the U.S. Open, but I have to go with Wimbledon because grass was my best surface, and I had some really good wins there, and so I have to not to slight the U.S. Open in our championship, because that's a fantastic tournament, and I love playing there. But Wimbledon, I'd have to say, is my favorite slam.
Did you find that your college experience, just in terms of having a support system, helped you? I mean, you mentioned tennis is a lonely sport. I mean, particularly professional tennis, right? I mean, you're out there on your own, traveling in all sorts of cities, things you're not familiar with. Is this my last week? Oh, I made enough money to keep going. Right. Did you find that your college experience helped you? I know Shannon McCarthy, Gaudet, talked about that really helped her become the pro that she was, her time in college, just because the players that played college kind of all hung together and supported each other. Did you have the same type of feeling or experience?
Yeah, and it's it's different. Yeah, it's same and different, because in college you've got your team, and that's who's supporting you. On the tour, you could have a group you're hanging out with. You could have a best friend and then have to play her the next week. Right. So in college, the people who are supporting you, they're on your team, and very seldom would you actually play them in a dual match. You might play them in a tournament, but out on the tour, the people who are your friends, you might end up playing them the next week. And so that was definitely something to balance while I was playing on the tour. And then, just traveling around, there was Deanne Hansel. We traveled a lot together, and I did a lot of traveling just on my own. So being in college, obviously you learn to be independent. And so that was one thing that really helped me being on the tour is being independent, but also, being on a team. If the coach says you have to be there a certain time, you better be there a certain time, or so you carry those things with you when you go on the professional tour as well. But, I would say that both schools that I went to, just the training was amazing, and the coaching, and just to get me prepared to go to that next level. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Well, the other thing is you're used to a meal plan, right?
Yeah.
You're used to
being
very structured about that. So
it was interesting when you went to a tournament and they had great food. Some tournaments had a little bit of a spread, but other ones, they had quite a spread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. How can I stuff this in my cheeks so I can be ready, carry it over to the next week where they may not have as much food for you.
Well, Jamie, we all know food can make or break a tournament, right? I can tell you the years that I used to go work New Haven, when the crepe guy was there, it was a great week. Yeah. When he wasn't there, not the best of weeks.
I think one of the smartest tournaments was the Canadian Open, and they had the sponsor tent was also the player tent. And so they had spreads like you wouldn't believe, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so all the players naturally would go in there and eat. And then the sponsors were in there, and they would end up sitting and mingling with the sponsors. So it was brilliant what they did up there, because they were able to get all the players in there schmoozing with the sponsors, which doesn't always happen.
That's true. Sometimes it's, do we really have to do this? I got to do another sponsor claim. I got to play in 3 hours.
I can remember they would pay you to go to sponsor parties.
Right,
I'm like, crazy? We ought to be going to these things anyway.
Right. Yeah, the tours now have a star system where they can, well, at least the ATP does, but yeah, it's interesting. Well, Jamie, you were at an incredible career on court, but I really maybe wanted to focus more of your influence off court. I mean, I think when people talk about Macon tennis and they play word association, I mean, your name and Randy Stevens is probably the two names that everybody blurts out. Your influence in Macon has been incredible, just with the fundraising, not just in tennis, right? I mean, for all things. But you had a great career, and still are heavily involved in Macon, from coaching at Wesleyan, then on to Healy Point, and then to Stratford, amongst the other things. Did you decide to just come home and, I mean, you're from Macon. Did you want to try to make an impact once you finished your playing career? Was you were always convinced that Macon was the place for me?
Absolutely. So while I was playing, it was toward the end of 1988, and the job came open at River North Country Club, which is now Healy Point Country Club.
Okay.
So that job came open, and some people approached me about applying for it. And I was like, I'm still playing full time on the tour, and I can't do that. And they said, well, what if they worked it out for you that you were like the director of tennis touring pro? I said, okay. So yeah, I'd be happy to talk to him. And so I met with the general manager, and he said, sure, we'll work it out. You give us your schedule when you can be here and when you're on the road, and you will be the director of tennis and touring pro. And so what ended up as luck or unluck, I guess you would say, would have it, that was when I tore my knee up at Wimbledon that summer. And so July 5th, to be exact. And so I was so blessed that I already had this job at home to go to. And so I just settled back into being a full-time tennis pro. And so that was 1989, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, just an incredible career. And again, I want to emphasize, you're still a huge influencer, right? Randy Stevens just had the Randy Stevens Tennis Center named after, and the dedication was last week. You're in all the photos. You're there. My understanding was you were a huge influence behind that naming. Is that the word on the street correct? That
The word on the street is correct. Yes,
Yes.
I contacted one of the commissioners, and he had been helping a lot with a lot of other things with tennis in Macon. And I said, okay, when you're done with this, your next project is that South Bend Tennis Center needs to be called the Randy Stevens Tennis Center.
Right.
And I mean, immediately, and Commissioner Jones knew, he knew Randy had done a lot. And I said, I'll tell you what, I've got a resume, I'll send you. And when I sent it to him, he's like, yeah, I knew he had done a lot, but I didn't know all this. He said, this is a slam dunk. And so the other part, we had some other things that we had to take care of with tennis and Macon, with getting facility resurfaced and finishing up this new facility, and also hiring a new county tennis manager. And so after all that was settled and done, then Commissioner Jones turned his efforts toward getting the facility named for Randy. And it really was a slam dunk. It went through very quickly. And Randy will joke that he had to pass a background check. So he was a little nervous about that, he said. But
right. Yeah, they had to jump through a few more hoops, because normally when these things are named, people are unfortunately deceased.
Such an honor for me to be able to speak the other day at the dedication. And like I said then, now the two major public facilities in Macon are named for two of my favorite tennis men, and really two of my favorite people in the whole world, John D. Smith and Randy Stevens.
Hey, don't forget about the Jaime Kaplan Tennis Center at Stratford. What a great place to play and watch. When the Challenger used to be there, we used to watch some matches. Just a great place. So don't forget about that as one of the tennis centers in Macon.
Well, and I'm very lucky and very blessed to have that facility named for me. The Copeland family and the Amos family, they had the naming rights to the facility, and Ashley Copeland had been on the committee. We had a big capital campaign going on at Stratford, and I'd worked alongside her, and we had raised a lot of money together along with our big capital campaign committee. And so I was very involved with raising money for the courts, and I had no idea that the Copeland and Amos family was going to name the facility for me. So we had an all school assembly out there. My family was all there, and they said that they had come because, you know, they were coming to help celebrate with me because I had been so involved with raising the money for the facility. And then they unveiled the name of the facility. And, you know, it's like every time I drive up and see that, it's just like brand new. It's like it's happening all over again. And it's just such an honor. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's again just a great place to play and to watch matches, and aptly named after one of the great Georgia high school coaches, probably now one of all time. I mean, based on your record, and you've done just a tremendous job at Stratford. Do you have a favorite championship you've won? You've won a bunch, right? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite high school coaching memory, perhaps?
I don't know if I have a favorite championship. There was a very special year back in 2010 when I was diagnosed with leukemia. And, you know, my boys' team, they were definitely supposed to win state. There was no doubt they were going to win state that year. The girls' team, they were very good and had a good season, but they were not picked to be the winners. And so I'd gotten diagnosed, and I was told I needed to start my chemo, go up to Emory and start my chemotherapy. And I asked if I could wait one more week because the state tournament was coming up. And so the doctor said, yeah, that would be absolutely fine to do that. And so we went to Augusta and had the girls team and the boys team there. And the boys, as we all knew, won fairly easily. And the girls who were not supposed to win, they ended up winning. So both teams won state that year. They did some really sweet things for me. One of the players on the team, Allison Walthall, she made some special ribbons and handed them out to these little ribbons, and everybody wore them on their hat or their visor or their clothes, and handed them out to all the players and the fans that were there. And so it was a special moment for me, for the teams. You know, it would be special under any circumstances, both teams winning a state title, but for me, having just been diagnosed with leukemia, it just made it extra special.
Yeah, and 10 years later, still going strong, doing a fantastic job.
Very blessed.
So great,
very blessed.
You know, probably the best. Fantastic to still have you so involved in tennis, Jamie. So you won one of the highest levels of any of USTA volunteer that you could win, the Eve Kraft Award. Did you know Eve, by the way? Did you have any contact with her, or
I did not
what did that award mean to you?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you know, it obviously it meant a lot because it's a national award, and to be recognized for things that you do in little old Macon, to get a national award for that. My entire family came out there. It's just very special. But what made it extra special is that John Drew Smith received that award as well. So he received it, I believe, 30 years earlier. I think he got it in 1978. So to receive an award because I looked up to him so much, and to receive an award that he received 30 years earlier made it extra special.
Yeah. Yeah, and I came from Southern California to here, and we had a couple Eve Kraft Award winners, just tremendous people like Franklin Johnson and the types, and now in Georgia, some incredible influencers, well deserved on that award. So you kind of gone down the Hall of Fame circuit for a little bit, right? The Georgia Sports Hall of Fame a few years ago, and then of course this year, and of course Georgia's Hall of Fame, why we're talking today, and then of course this year you were inducted into the Southern Tennis Hall of Fame. And you got actually to be inducted in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
What a novel concept.
I know. That was not long before crowd ceased, wasn't it?
Nope. I was in the crowd that night, and what a heartfelt speech, and well deserved. Did you know that was coming, or did you, before you were told, or do you have any idea that maybe you were being considered for that high honor? And what did that mean to you when you got the phone call that Southern was honoring you in their Lucy Garvin Hall of Fame?
I knew that I had been nominated a few years ago. I believe Donna Bailey from here in Macon had nominated me, so she had contacted me to get all the information. And you know, I knew it was going to be tough because there's such a rich tradition of tennis players and volunteers and just so many people. And so it was quite a special moment to get that phone call that I was being inducted, and then to have Randy Stevens present me, to have my family there, my leukemia doctor, Dr. Langston was there, Dr. Bill Barnes was there, who kept me in one piece, my orthopedic doctor who operated on a couple of knees of mine and shoulder and everything, a few other things, and then my local oncologist, Dr. Cheryl Jones, was there. So just people from my past, Mike Tinke, who's been a mentor of mine for so many years. And, I guess I don't want to keep naming names because I'll forget people, but, Matt Olson, who I can't say enough good things about and what he's done in the tennis world, and, Mary Hatfield in the audience. And so many people that I have learned from over the years, not just tennis people, my mom being there, my brothers being there, my sister, all older than me, and just so many people that I've looked up to over the years, just part of, just a part of the team, a part of my team. So I know I said tennis is a lonely business, when you're playing junior tennis and college tennis or professional tennis, but you're always, when you get off that court, I've just been blessed to be part of a bigger team, and it was a very special moment for me. And I do think back on I feel bad for this year's inductee, for the 2021 inductees, to not be able to experience what I experienced, and hopefully one day they'll be able to do that at a later date.
Yeah, I know here in specific to Georgia, we unfortunately, as you probably know, couldn't celebrate our inductees this year. We're hoping to next year with Craig Jones.
Right.
Who now is in Macon, and Brian Bahaley, just a tremendous junior career, and now is the secretary, will be the secretary treasurer of the USTA. He's made an unbelievable impact off court, similar to you. But you were the class of 2006 for the Georgia Hall of Fame. And as I'm standing here, I can look at all the names in the Georgia Hall of Fame, and it's just a tremendous group of people, you being one. You went in with the late Georgia Maya, Eddie Williamson, and of course, Kenny Thorne, who is a very successful men's coach at Georgia Tech. Right. So, Jamie, what does being in the Georgia Hall of Fame mean to you?
Well, it's quite an honor. I mean, just I was born state of Georgia and played all of my junior career here, played 2 years of tennis, college tennis. And then when I played on the tour, I played out of the state of Georgia. And so to be in the Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame with the people who are in there, when I go to the ceremony and we're all standing around in our jackets and we're taking photos, and I'm looking around and I'm like, my gosh, to be in a Hall of Fame with these people, and like Wendy White and Randy Stevens in there, and some of the folks who are no longer here, like Ruth Lay, who was meant a lot to my career, and you just so many tennis legends, and it's just hard to believe that I'm standing there with those same folks, on the same stage with them.
Yeah, and Ruth Lay, of course, the highest honor our organization, USTA Georgia, can give is the Ruth Lay Award. We just have announced that Bill Ozaki is this year's recipient for all that he's done for Georgia tennis. So, we're looking forward to celebrating him. But yeah, we got to get back to being able to celebrate people in groups and give them the recognition that they so richly have earned and deserve. So God willing, we will do that. But
absolutely,
Jamie, a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word, an amazing career from a 9-year-old without maybe that much tennis connection to deciding that day, hitting with a professional player, I'm going to be a tennis player. You followed through on that goal, did a tremendous job on court, great professional player. But more importantly, your influence off court, and most importantly, we're still here going strong. You survived leukemia. God bless you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Darren. I appreciate all that you do for tennis in Georgia, and we're very lucky to have you here and have such a strong advocate for tennis here, and just keep us going.
Yeah, well, I'll spell your name right. You'll get that check. Don't worry about it. But in all seriousness, folks, hey, that's catching up with 2006 Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame member Jaime Kaplan. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Look for our next one shortly. Thanks for watching.